welcome back. It's Christina again with the Artist Pod, and today we'll be talking about how to draw a Japanese dwarf flying squirrel. You know what? I'm going to leave that in. I was about to stop the video and just reset, but we're going to keep it. So we're drawing a Japanese dwarf flying squirrel. As always, I'm using a Wacom Intuos Pro tablet, and I'm drawing straight into Photoshop. So, let's get arting. They're just like a couple of colors, so we're going to kind of start with this like grayish kind of color, and then it'll be more white underneath. Should go pretty quick, right? So just layering up the first round. Up the middle, we're going straight up, right? Put one stroke in between the others, and then we're going to aim for the corner of the eye as we come off of that middle. We won't actually be able to get there because that'll be taken over by the white fur. And then kind of everything in between, just sort of making it all kind of match. I have sort of sketched out where the color transition would happen. Right, it's kind of barely, roughly, good enough. Right, so up the middle, all the way to the top. Because it's fur, it's okay if we don't stay within the lines, kind of nice. And then just sort of angling it, right, you can see I'm angling this off as we bring it over, angling it off. Right, so I'm going to get the rest of this like gray in, and I'll be right back. Now, before we transition from the gray, I am going to do a couple of like small little lines here, because technically down here by the nose it's smaller, shorter fur. Not much before it transitions into the long stuff, and I just didn't really do that. Okay, so we'll see what's going on. My Photoshop is being a little slow. I'm not sure what was happening when I was drawing. It was getting delayed. I just did a driver update for my Wacom tablet, so I don't know if that's causing some problems or not. Might have to play this by ear. Okay. For now, we're going to keep going, though. We're going to transition to the white. So again, this is just a sketching step, right? Like, this is just to get, like, all the details. So we're going to be careful by the eye. Might have to turn Photoshop off and back on, but for now, we're going to keep forging the head, actually. Yeah, we'll do that, and then we'll have, like, a little bit of leeway here. So careful by the eye, right? Swooping up and over by the eye. And then matching up with the other fur. So there's some black here. And I am not going to draw in the black. I'm going to see if we can get away with not doing it. Anybody who follows my videos, you'll know that I prefer not to. If we can make the eye stand out enough, we won't have to do it. So that's what I'm hoping for. Right, and so then transitioning this fur to coming down. Now down here, right, we'll be coming straight off the nose. And we'll just kind of bring it down, right, like that. Right, and then straight to the edge. And then we'll do the same thing on the other side. So I'm going to go ahead and get all the white done, and I'll be right back. So we're going to get the pink real fast, and then we'll start doing the highlights and shadows. So the pink, there's not much. It's literally just the ears, the nose, and the lip, I guess, here. Right, so nose, right, kind of same concept. You go straight down the middle, and then on the sides you pull it out. Ooh, my voice just stopped working. There's a whole lot happening today. Photoshop's stopping, failing on me. My voice is failing on me. All right, then the little bit of a lip here, and then the ears. So not much. And then we'll, add highlights and shadows. So that's how it looks so far. Oh, go back to that kind of grayish color. And make sure I'm on the right layer. I was just debating on if I should take off the sketch layer, but I think I'm going to leave it on. There's not so much detail that I need to be worried about. But there is enough like color changes that either I have to take the white off because it blends in around here, so that I wouldn't get mixed up, or I can put the sketch layer on. There's not enough that it's going to block it. So a light source we'll have coming from above and to the right. As always, it's above and in front of, not behind or next to. Right, we'll get started over here. This is full pin pressure, the shorter fur as it pushes right into the nose, and then straighten out and elongate as it comes off, because they're just these little soft looking floofs. Pretty cute. Okay, now all edges are in shadow, right? So even on the side of the light source, you know, that's backed off pin pressure. You can see the difference here. Very, very light strokes. 2 mini strokes will also brighten it up. That's actually how we're going to That's how we're going to rum it. That's how we're going to ram the highlight into the shadow, is we're going to use extra strokes, not pin pressure. But for right now, this is shadow. And then, you know, it comes up kind of a little bit behind the ear here. So that would be shadow. And then we'll meet the two together. It'll be shadow on the top for the same reason, right? That's how we indicate it's rounded. So to connect that in, again, I'm going to use just more lines, right? Start off the same way, but keep building up those lines. And you can see what that does. It brightens it up pretty quickly. So that's how we're going to blend in the highlight to the shadow, and then as we pull away, we'll go back to full pin pressure. Right? So that's how we're blending it on the side with the light source. Over here, the shadow would be a bit deeper, right? So we'll go a bit further out with this and give ourselves a runway. Now, you don't necessarily want a change in highlight to happen in a color change. That can make it look like it's a different color, not like it's highlight or shadow. So typically, you know, if I add like a burst of light under the eye, and this comes out a little further than it really does, so I don't know that we're really at risk of that here, but assuming it came out a little further, I would need to add some highlight into that as well. I'm giving myself extra room. I think at this point some of this will be highlight. The forehead has the most highlight typically on an animal because there's the least blocking it, right? Like especially an animal like this. It doesn't have horns. It doesn't, you know, you're not going to have a whole lot that would interfere. So the forehead would have a lot of highlighting. So this deep highlight I'm creating is going to taper off as it gets to the ear. And then we'll be doing some more highlighting in the white as well over here. Right, and then, you know, back of the ear, this little like lift up section would have a little bit, and then of course the top of the head, same reason that the side on the light source had it, right? You have that very light pin pressure. All right, so the rest of this is highlight though, right? Way down in here, full pin pressure. You can see that difference as we connect back here, transition into full pin pressure. You can see that difference. So I'm going to finish out the rest of this kind of gray color, and I'll be right back. I blended in the top, right? You can see that a bit. That's not as quite a harsh of a line as this is over here. So I intentionally left this a little bit jagged so I could talk about it, right? You don't want a line that shows the differentiation between highlight and shadow, not like this. You want it to kind of blend together, and so I'm just going to take, again, light pen pressure and draw into the area I've shadowed, not enough to turn it into highlight, but enough to blend in the highlight right next to it, right? And it should look like a seamless transition from one to the other, you know, as we go down. That it just happens to be darker, but we can't look at a line and go, this is exactly where it happened. That's bad form. We can brighten up, you know, we can even brighten up the areas around it, but we still need to push into the shadow just to get rid of that line. Anywhere where it might be a little funny, and make sure it's not a straight edge. So you can have areas where it's not exactly perfectly like this line is shadow. As long as it's roughly in the right spot, you can kind of get rid of that telltale line that we had there earlier. And then it's much more blended. Okay. Now we'll get the white. So same thing, right? Oh, I hate when it does that. That's why I need one of those little like things that artists get when they're working digitally. They have that little like sleeve on their arms, right? I didn't mark the edge of that. All right, so this is the white. I think I'm on the white. Did I change layers? I did. Okay. Same thing that we did with this kind of gray, right? All edges are in shadow, so this edge would be in shadow. Roughly, again, roughly the same spot, but subject to change. So all that underneath, you'd have a little bit of shadowing on the inside here of the lip where it turns inward and then comes back out. And then of course this is underneath. We're not dealing with a lot of space here, so I might shadow everything under the nose, even though not all of it would be shadow, just because there's so little space. It's going to be easier to layer up the color that way. And we can kind of go from there. Right, and then transition that back to just the singular little line. Okay. And then the back side would have more shadow. Because you're all on that back side of that eye. I'm probably, I think I mentioned this, going to add some highlighting under the eye. But we're going to get it in shadow first. I typically do that. Eyes are the first thing we look at, so I draw attention to them. Because we're naturally, as humans, we're naturally drawn to looking at them. And, you know, creating a nice big runway for myself where I'm going to be shadowing more than I need to give myself a highlighting runway to taper it in. Because it'll be solidly highlight to the corner of the eye, so I've already gone a little overzealous to get all that in, right? So again, some of this on this side will also be highlight on this cheek. The nose isn't going to really be doing enough to block it. So some of that will also be highlight, but we are doing it all in shadow at the moment. And, you know, once again, creating a runway all down in here. That will sort out momentarily, actually. All right. So, you know, then it's just full pin pressure. The only other spot and thing to be aware of is around the eyes. They have black around the eyes, so we don't have to be aware of it. Typically, as you come down to the eye, you'd add some shadowing. You don't really need to. Although I think I have. Yep. I'm gonna do something real fast, and we're gonna go back to the white because this is gray. I was thinking I didn't quite do something right, so we're just gonna fill this in real quick. Full pin pressure. Nothing big. I just didn't finish filling that in, I guess. And then it kicks in again. Okay. Nothing too crazy on it, and here I am getting distracted. Alrighty. Now back to the white. Back to our previously scheduled color. Okay, so then everything else on this should be highlight, right? Everything else in the white should be highlight. And so that's, you know, full pin pressure. You can see it's certainly different, but hopefully subtle enough, and if we need to, we can blend it in. Right. I am creating a little bit of an extra, because I have it on one side, right? I have a little bit of an extra bit of black, and so I am kind of doing that over here just a little bit before we connect all the way into the eye. Right, and then we came from over here, right? That's the corner we came off of before it twisted and turned to ram itself underneath. Right, we just ram it into the other color, basically. I'm just leaving the sketch up so I can see where the edge of the eyes are. Now, you know, like with the other, we already did that shadow. This will be highlight, and then as we blend this together, it's that same thing. I just add more lines, and that will create highlight so that my lines aren't thicker to sort of be jarring. Creates the highlight. And then blending it in. And then we can transition to full pin pressure once we're far enough away. So I'm gonna finish out the white, and I'll be right back. I'm going to do the whole nose in shadow. And when I say shadow, I just mean backed off pin pressure, right? I'm clearly filling it in. It's not leaving it as a black void like we will the eyes. And I'm still debating on exactly how we're going to pull the eyes off. And then just add more lines to add highlight onto the nose. So not more pin pressure, just more lines, right? Does the same thing. It's why I do it. Is it why I fill something in shadow? Is it this is a little easier to control, you know, exactly where the highlight and shadow cuts. Right, so nice good highlight on the nose. Then we have this little bit of a hint of a bottom lip. So we'll just do that little space and give it a little tiny burst. Nothing big. Actually looks really cute. And then the ears, again, do the whole thing in shadow. Right, making sure all the lines make sense and connect together. There's no, from what I could tell, so right, I do research before I do anything. From what I could tell, the first and the outside of the ear, inside is just pink flesh, basically. So we'll add a little bit of highlight to this as well, but just getting it in first. Now, there'll be more highlight on the ear on the left side, right? That's the side of the light source, of course. So, but this one on the far side would still probably be catching some light, just on the exterior. Okay, so now we'll give a little bit of a highlight, right? Leaving room for the ear to disappear into the head. A little bit of burst here. And over here, what's going to probably catch is this far side because the ears are the way their ears are turned, right? So not a whole lot on the interior. Really taping that off quicker. Okay. Now for the eyes. But we're going to have it following the edge of the eye. On both sides. And maybe some other eye. Okay. It's kind of crazy that way. But we will be adding what the white flare, which is I guess what it is. It's a light flare. And then I'm going to take that and do kind of a teardrop shape. And on the other side, maybe aimed better. Maybe that would be alright, because of the nature of, it'd be smaller anyway. Fill foreground color, select, deselect. And then on this side, have some of the fur pushing in. Yeah, see, that works. I just need to do it for the other side. Yeah. And if we do decide to do a little bit over here. Yeah, I actually think that works pretty well. I can take the same idea though, right? And trim it. So he's getting highlight, but clearly through fur. Yeah, I think that works. Now they do have whiskers. Typically show up as black. But if we do it in white. Right, so we would just light pin pressure, come off at the shoulder, do a few whiskers, nothing big. Again, their whiskers would be black though, so I don't know that I'll keep it, but sometimes whiskers can add a lot. Whatever you do on one side, you do on the other. Right. So jumble them up, come 'em up just as far. Jumble them together the same way. Ish. Doesn't have to be exact, just, you know. There we go. Japanese dwarf flying squirrel. Alright, so that's how you draw a Japanese dwarf flying squirrel. I hope that was helpful. In the floating nether next to me, I have other videos of art tutorials I have done, and I will see you all soon. Thank you so much. Take care.